According to the internet, this video has surfaced and links Lil Papa's death to Foolio's affiliates. And everywhere, it's going viral. However, you should hear the whole story before you believe anything you've read online, because what actually happened to Lil Papa? No headline can compare to the unsettling fact. Another one was lost by them. When the neighborhood woke up on the morning of February 18, 2026, everyone was filled with nauseating news. At 11:23 a.m., Lil Papa, whose true name was Janarius Michael Wheeler, was declared dead. He was a teenage rapper from Jacksonville's east side who had been putting his heart out on tape for years. Georgia's Fulton County, Eastern Time. He was only 25 years old, family. He hasn't even come close to realizing his full potential. One of Duval's most slept-on voices was this cat. And then it was gone. Just a hot subject and a whole city in disarray. No warning, no farewell. Additionally, the news's delivery was quite disorganized. His people are not the source of it. CMG isn't the source. It's not a non-official source. No. Rumors began to circulate about X and Threads. The Duval promo account on Threads was among the first to post something early that morning stating that the city is in grieving after news of Jacksonville rapper Lil Papa's death. Every timeline, every group chat, and every comment area went berserk after that. Just 5 days before his death on February 13th, Papa released his latest single, Out of Town Baby, with a full music video. The song was still playing, people were still bumping it in the whip, and by mid-afternoon, the man behind it had simply disappeared. People were in denial, typing things like this: Lil Papa news better not be real, dog. The death was confirmed by TMZ directly from the Fulton County Medical Examiner's office. And Newsweek followed up with confirmation from Brian Joslin, a senior medical examiner investigator. Not far behind were Mara and the New York Daily News. Each one of them made the same statement. Investigation is ongoing to determine the cause and manner of death. There are no specifics. There is no proof of foul play. Only anarchy on the internet and quiet from the authorities. Additionally, you are well aware of how the streets function, in the absence of official word. Overnight, everyone becomes a detective. Within hours, suicide rumors began to circulate, with many on X, such as AllMaroon775, stating that Lil Papa's death was a suicide. Man, check on your people. Other folks were making up stories about overdoses, medications, and other crazy situations. He was discovered lying next to counterfeit medications in a Florida crib, according to one unverified report, which completely contradicts the documented Georgia location where he was formally pronounced. The podcast guys were on it right away. The same day, they broke it down on air, and because they were completely honest about the circumstance, their presentation of it struck a new chord.
No, what's up with this Lil Papa? What's all this
tell us about that.
Chat?
We'll
talk relevant to what we got.
The news quickly flooded the conversation as soon as they sat down. No one had anything else to concentrate on.
We got a rapper from Jacksonville, Florida, named Lil Papa. I believe he was affiliated with Young and Ace.
And that's the thread that ties everything together, since you can tell what will be discussed next the moment they bring up Youngin Ace. Jacksonville was transformed into a cemetery by the war, the corpses, and the beef.
So he was obviously a part of that whole war that's been going on out there between Foolio's camp and Young and Ace's camp and all that.
And for that very reason, every online conspiracy theorist began accusing Foolio's folks. Because on the streets, if Papa was on the ATK side of things, and Foolio was a KTA member, and Foolio was recently assassinated in 2024 by people associated with ATK, then the sum of those numbers equals retaliation. In a moment, however, we will discuss whether or not that math truly adds up. You must first comprehend the depth of this feud. You see, the ATK versus KTA war, which has claimed over 300 lives since 2017, has shaped Jacksonville's rap scene. It's not a typo. 300. Youngin Ace was a member of Ace's Top Killers, or ATK, and Papa was involved through his Cut Circle group, which the police believed was associated with the 1200 East Side gang. Foolio's camp, KTA, Kill Them All, and 6 Block represented the Northside Moncrief neighborhood on the other end. This is what many people are unaware of, though. In fact, Lil Papa and Foolio were initially nice. They were running in the same circles, creating music together, and feeling each other out. In an interview, Foolio personally attested to all of this. You could sense the atmosphere changed instantly as the interviewer mentioned Papa's name.
Another shocking thing you mentioned in the record was Lil Poppa, another Jacksonville artist who releases quality music.
Yeah.
The interviewer even admitted it. Papa produced high-caliber music. The man avoided getting into arguments with anyone on the blogs and stayed in his lane. But when the streets began to speak, all of that became irrelevant. Foolio was completely honest when he was questioned about the history. Thus, it made its way from the studio to the hands.
We fought. I beat his ass type shit. I had beat his ass and shit in the mall and shit. Me and my little cousin Coach had beat his ass.
In 2018, Foolio and his cousin allegedly jumped Papa over supposed sneak disses in his music, leading to the infamous Avenues Mall Foot Locker incident. True question. The process of moving from the booth to delivering blows.
How do you go from making songs with somebody to fighting? Like, what is that energy? How does that energy even come about? Like, what happened?
Additionally, Foolio's response cracked the code of Jacksonville beef.
This what it be, Sean. When I make a song, I say people's name right. I'm direct with it.
Foolio therefore considered himself to be one. No coded bars, no subliminals. Although he included your name in the song, he believed that Papa was the one making crude remarks.
Y'all don't hear the 1,000 sneak disses a nigga say to me, antagonize me and shit.
The conflict in the mall was now one piece. The ATK-KTA carnage was the larger picture. Lil Papa, his brother Chichi, and a homeboy were the targets of a drive-by in 2018. Papa's two men were smoked. He was grazed. Purple Hearts, one of the rawest, most gut-wrenching songs to ever come out of Jax, was born out of that incident. Music continued to escalate the fight. Both sides adopted Foolio's When I See You and ATK's Who I Smoke as their anthems. Each track names the other camp's dead members. However, Papa deliberately chose not to release diss tracks. He remained focused on his contemplative side, which was evident in his melodic trap, agony music, and candid discussions about melancholy and survival. Then, on June 23, 2024, Foolio was captured in the act of celebrating his 26th birthday in Tampa. Ambushed. Rashad Murphy, also known as Papa, from the ATK-affiliated 1200 group was one of the individuals arrested. However, no sources mention Papa by name. He responded by dropping "more to life." No insults, only reflection. He discussed karma. What a man sows is what he reaps. His maturity was commended by the internet. Reddit claimed that Papa's answer to Foolio's passing was the best. You can understand why the internet erupted, in retribution when Papa himself was discovered dead less than 2 years later. Remember KTA. 6 block, remember. That's the story. Here's the truth though. Not a single piece of reliable evidence connects Lil Papa's death to Foolio's affiliates. Not one. By 2021, the beef was said to have cooled. Papa handled Foolio's passing with dignity, and everything from the results of the investigation to his personal hardships, not opportunities. However, when there is a narrative to promote, the internet disregards the data. And it was precisely that which threw this entire story into overdrive. Okay. Because he wasn't just some random jit from the hood who got on a hot streak. You had to grasp who Lil Papa was beyond the beefs, gang ties, and clickbait, in order to truly feel the significance of what we lost on February 18th. From the trenches to the majors, Janarius Michael Wheeler was born on March 18, 2000, and grew up in Jacksonville's east side, which is the area of Duval where funerals are more frequent than birthday celebrations, and the murder rate is lower. Through cats like Spinabenz and Wapa Wit da Chopa, he was exposed to ATK as a child. Additionally, the police identified his squad, Cut Circle, as having ties to the 1200 East Side gang. The environment is that. He was grown in that dirt. Papa was unique, despite the smoke, static, and death that around him. Papa was creating melodic, contemplative songs that talked about sorrow, survival, and depression. Things that no one in Jacksonville was really touching like that.
And I love Lil Papa.
He's so raw.
Yeah, I love him. I think his sound is different.
While all the other rappers in the city were releasing drill records and diss tracks. And it was evident in the way people characterized his voice. Check out what this artist had to say about what set Poppa apart. And that's what everyone said about Poppa in a city where drill rappers are bickering with one another. He dug up an entire lane that was exclusively his. Poppa's desire to collaborate with other musicians even astonished them. He had that kind of enthusiasm. Modest, grounded, and just looking to create genuine music with like-minded individuals. What made Brew famous was the Under Investigation mixtape series. His reputation in the industry was built on that corpus of work. Evidence that a young person from Duval's gutter could create music that was not only street, but also intensely human and intimate. Songs like Purple Hearts weren't simply songs. They were inspired by the 2018 drive-by that killed his homeboys and left him physically damaged. Confessions were made, sessions of therapy over music. You could see that this wasn't cap when Poppa spoke about survivors' regret and the guilt of being the one who survived but many around you didn't. This was quite painful, and the bag was trapped in that authenticity. In 2022, Lil Poppa joined Yo Gotti's collective music group, CMG, which was affiliated with Interscope Records. The glow-up was meant to be that. From hood legend to nationwide star, that was meant to be the ticket. When society was still making fun of people for seeking therapy, he was rapping about mental health on songs like Mind Over Matter and showcasing his range in Love and War, Blessed, and I Guess falling headfirst into sadness. Like warriors, the fans who truly connected with him and could hear the suffering beneath the songs rode for him. They fervently streamed his music. In their captions, they cited his bars. In his words, they recognized themselves. Poppa was engaged in battles that the bag was unable to resolve beneath all of that momentum, all of that grinding, and all of that upward trajectory. Sickle cell anemia comes first. Bro was candid about his battle with sickle cell disease, which causes excruciating pain flare-ups that leave you bedridden for days at a time. Additionally, the accompanying pain treatment typically entails taking a lot of medicine. The burden of managing chronic pain while juggling a recording schedule, touring schedule, and label commitments would be too much for most individuals to handle. The danger is even greater when you consider the fentanyl epidemic and fake medications that resemble your usual prescription, but include enough synthetic to kill a horse. Then, the personal losses continued to mount. There were more than simply bullet wounds from the 2018 shooting. His mental health was severely damaged, and he took trauma and survivors' guilt into every performance and session. To make matters worse, his homeboy Corbin Johnson was abducted and slain during the ATK-KTA conflict. Additionally, rumors of a purported split and the death of a family member circulated in the weeks prior to his passing. The kind of strikes that can send someone who is already on the edge over the edge. Then Poppa's own words came next. And this is the section that truly rocked the internet. He shared an Instagram story with lyrics from Rod Wave's Let It Go approximately 12 hours before to his death being officially announced. Both you and I are aware of what transpired. The world won't. It was already cryptic. However, he had tweeted something much more eerie 2 weeks prior. Additionally, an artist who had a conversation with him at that time recalled exactly what Poppa had told them over the phone.
Woke up, read me a Bible verse, got some breakfast in my system, talked to God about it.
That is what Poppa himself said. He talked about his spirit and his morning routine before laying them on them.
You know what I'm saying? And he laid it on me. I got one more album, EP, mixtape, whichever one it's gonna be, I got one more.
People may have assumed he was talking about taking a sabbatical, redefining himself, or withdrawing from the game when he said that. These words, however, now hit like a freight train. With this, the conspiracy theorist went all tinfoil hat. One fan on X wrote, "Stop embracing Burn lying," in reference to the 2022 CMG signing. Bruh, Lil Poppa didn't begin to have all of these issues until he joined with Yo Gotti. Is there any concrete proof that the label was the root of his issues? No, not at all. However, the sentiment struck a chord with something genuine on the streets. The idea that the machine devours you after you sign with a major. Others went even farther with their Gematria number 97 gibberish and sacrifice beliefs. There is no proof, but it strikes a chord after witnessing too many young talents pass away, inexplicably. If you were listening, Papa himself was letting everyone know exactly where his head was. And that's precisely what the podcast team brought up. That's one viewpoint, and it's a weighty one. What matters most, though, and what we will dissect in part 3, is the discussion they had after that regarding the reasons behind this, the culture and the pressure. Lil Papa was mourned by the entire culture. A young artist's departure, particularly one as genuine, unvarnished, and gifted as Lil Papa, has a ripple effect on society. Shock is the first wave. Grief is the second wave. Everyone who has ever shared a studio, a stage, a phone call, or a playlist with that individual comes up to give their thoughts during the third wave. And some of the most sincere, real, and gut-wrenching responses the rap industry has seen in years were the tributes that were sent in for Papa, bruh. One of the first OGs to take the stage was Boozy. Papa and he had collabed on songs like Untamed. Therefore, this was not your typical post on RIP. This man truly had a lot to offer the younger generation. He opened it up like this.
I want to give a, TIP Thug and Peace to Lil Papa, man. Yeah, my little nigga right there,
That isn't industry jargon. Family, that is true affection.
Always supported me, looked up to me, my nigga.
Boozy sensed Papa's admiration and encouragement, and he immediately returned the favor.
Solid little nigga too. So TIP Papa.
And you could hear Boozy's voice growing more intense. The incredulity is becoming genuine, unadulterated anguish. Even Boozy's children were having a great time with Papa. The extent of his reach is evident from it. From the trenches to the living rooms, from the streets to the families. The artist who had actually called Papa heard the enthusiasm in his voice, and now had to live with the knowledge that one of their final talks was full of unfulfilled. Promise was the one who probably had the harshest reaction. The kind of cosign that artists aspire to is working with Papa and getting a song straight from him. And it hurts differently to know that the person who sent you that track is no longer with you. Then there is Lil Duval, a resident of Jacksonville, who wrote on social media, "This one really hurt me because I really cared about Papa. Prior to his notoriety, the majority of Jacksonville knew him. There you have it. Hood love. Love someone as a person first, before the record deals, before the streaming, before everything else related to the industry." As thousands watched, Big Pluto responded live on stream, clearly startled and having a hard time taking in the news. You could hear the horror in real time as his girl also heard the news. "My little brother is gone," also wrote Caroline Baraline Diaz, CEO of Great Day Records, one of Papa's first partners. "I adore you so much, Papa. I'm completely broken. That's not business talk. My little brother is gone. Family is that." Social media tributes from fans were just as impactful. A person wrote, "Sad news," on X. Lil Papa, a rapper from Jacksonville, died at the age of 25. Another said, "The news of Lil Papa's death is devastating. Rip to a rising talent. Far too soon. Rest in peace." And the songs that truly resonated with me came from people that had some sort of sentiment over how slept on he was during his lifetime. One of our generation's finest talents, Lil Papa, is departed. Crazy is underappreciated. And it always goes like that, doesn't it? We don't distribute flowers to anyone until the coffin is closed. Some Reddit members on our Duval County reacted negatively to the cheesy remarks, pointing out that some of you received quite cheesy reactions to a person's passing. That energy was verified by real ones. And since they weren't merely grieving for the man, that's where the actual discussion took place on the show. They explained why young black artists continue to experience this.
Apparently, like, a lot of people kind of thought this didn't surprise people that have been following the lore closely, because I guess he's been...
Those who were truly interested in Papa's material anticipated it. They saw the indications in his posts, songs, and enthusiasm. The hardest part is that consider Papa's experiences by the age of 25. Survived a shooting in which his friends were killed. Grew raised in one of the nation's most violent cities. Personal losses, label pressure, and chronic sickness accumulate, like unpaid bills. When one of the hosts discussed the pressure that the black community in particular places on itself, it truly hit home. In March, he was scheduled to perform in New Orleans as part of his Almost Normal Again tour. When you really think about it, even the title of his tour, Almost Normal Again, tells you exactly where his mind was.
I forgot I dropped the song today. Damn, what's the name out right now? Missing something out right now, man. Y'all go get that shit, man. It's out on all platforms, man.
Additionally, Papa himself demonstrated to the public on one of his Instagram lives that he was still active, still working, and still out there. Papa is still working hard and spreading his talent to the world while promoting his music on Instagram Live. A man who still had that drive, who still wanted his music to be heard, and who was still fighting. So allow me to take this entire situation home. The inquiry by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office is currently in progress. Results from autopsies and toxicology could take weeks. And everything else, including theories, rumors, and viral videos that purport to depict what actually happened, is conjecture until the results are in. We are convinced that a 25-year-old Duval icon, artist, and father is no longer with us. As admirers return to the bars that initially drew them in, his library will witness a resurgence of interest. When we lose one of our own, streaming numbers will rise as usual. The true lesson, however, lies beyond the tributes, streams, and popular subjects. Really check on your people. Not merely a "you okay" text. Not merely liking their post. Check on them, really. Because sometimes the most difficult battles are fought behind closed doors by those who appear to have it all together. Furthermore, it may be too late by the time the symptoms become apparent. Call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 if you or someone you know is going through a difficult moment. It's cost-free. It's private. Additionally, it might mean the difference between losing and keeping another legend. Peace be with you, Lil Papa, the legend of Duval, legendary all throughout the world. Goodbye, Papa. If you haven't already, hit like, comment with your favorite Papa song, and subscribe. See how your people are doing. While they are still alive, tell them you love them.